All right, so welcome. Oh, it's too cold. Yes. So welcome everyone to Marketing for Women Who Don't Like Marketing. And I know some of you already do a lot of marketing and you may or may not like it, but it's so surprising. I'm actually really passionate about this topic. As I started preparing for the class, I'm like, oh, I really care about this topic, because in a million years, I didn't think I would ever teach a class on marketing. And so part of the agenda today is to define marketing, or maybe even redefine marketing in a way that is more palatable and transformational, because I think it's a really powerful aspect to the work that we do as healing professionals, creative professionals, entrepreneurs that really have businesses that heal and are interested in transforming the world around them. So I was lucky enough to have a session right before this with a client who I've been working with for probably, I've known her a long time, but I think we've been in depth for the last 3 years. And she said to me, and I took this yay, because she can't be here for the class, but she's like, I know you need to go. She said, I just want to say one thing. I don't think I'm ready for the marketing thing. And I'm like, well, you should come to the class. And but she's traveling and et cetera. But she's like, I just want to say one thing. She's like, I never, ever feel like you're selling me something. And I was like, like the best compliment ever, right? Because that's like the last thing I want anyone to feel for me is like, I'm trying to sell them something. And I was like, well, actually, I don't think I am selling you something. And she's like, because I don't want to sell anything. I want it to come from my heart. I want what's inside of me to connect with other people, and I want them to feel my heart. And I was like, yes, exactly. And she goes, so even when you tell me about your next course, I don't feel you're selling me something. I feel like it's coming from your heart. I was like, exactly. That's it. And I was like, oh, thank you. So she planted that seed about 20 minutes ago. And I was like, how amazing and beautiful. And I told her, I said, I'm not in business to sell something. I'm in business to build relationships. And that's really what I care about. So when people see the label like business coach or business strategist or, healer, because I'm a healer, but I'm also a coach. So I straddle these worlds. It's like they don't get the deeper level, which is actually what we're doing is we're healing relationships. And we're healing our relationship first and foremost with ourselves. And then we go, oh my gosh, this gift I have is so large and in charge. It's the desire, right? That propels us to go into these crazy scenarios of I'm going to do what? I'm an introvert and what? My soul is asking me to be visible in front of people. What am I doing? And then we recognize the reason for doing it is bigger than just us. It's like the only way I could show up is because I touch into the bigger reason why. And when we lead from that place, anything is possible. And so what I want to share with you today are, I suppose, core beliefs, principles, and also I want to be able to get into working with whatever you're working on. So I don't want this to just be I want to share some information, yes, but I also want you to get into the process. So I want you to receive benefit right away. Let's get to it, because part of it is working creative ideas. So what is marketing? Let's start there, okay? So marketing is many things to many people. I'm sure there are many definitions, and I don't know all of them. And I did not go to business school. Marketing for me was out of necessity. I did, 20 years ago, I was like, marketing, no way. I want to be an artist. You know, I don't care about all that other stuff. You know, so it was like a necessity. I had to learn how to talk to people. And I also had to learn how to be seen, which was the penultimate terror. Because I'm the last person, and you see me on Zoom, and I know a lot of you, so I feel comfortable here. But ultimately, when I first started teaching, I didn't want to be in the front of the room. The first pose I had my students do was downward dog. Don't look, go down, you know, like let's start there, and then I'll get comfortable. So it's taken me 20 years to get comfortable, and I'm still working on it. But what I see, deep spiritual beings, right? They have this inner world that is so prominent and so powerful, and they've been working it for a long time. And it's this cherished, coveted gift they know they have inside. To bring it out, however, is so vulnerable. It's like, I remember the moment I taught my first class and I couldn't talk for the first 5 minutes because I was just crying. The energy was so strong, it overwhelmed my system and I couldn't speak. Luckily, it was in front of my colleagues, so they understood. But there's a realness to the vulnerability that I don't want to shy away from talking about today, because I think what we see problematically in the world around, and you know, there are other people who talk about this, that the world is oriented towards extroverted behavior, is that, and it's one way of saying it, is like it's true though, because if you look on social media or you look in the media at all, the people who are maybe, it doesn't come easily, right? Like you see someone who's really good at presenting and putting their attention out and speaking, and you think, oh, I can't do that, so I can't market my services. And so the secret ingredient, or there are a few maybe, but what really transformed my perspective, or what really helped me cross the bridge, was to see it as a creative practice. And to see it as a channel for all the amazing creative ideas that you have, and then be able to place them strategically out into the world so that the people who actually encounter them know who you are, know what you're about and why, and begin to resonate with you, like they feel the resonance before they think about anything else. They're going, ooh, what's she got going on over there? You know, like, ooh. And that's exciting, right? Like that's intriguing. And we need more people out there who are intriguing. We don't need more shiny, fast things, in my particular opinion. Okay. And I think many of you feel that way. You're like, I'm not fast and shiny. I'm deep and slow. And I'm bringing this, you know, this like deep transformational work forward. And then people are making 30-second, 10-second TikTok videos. Like, oh my God. Like, you know, you feel shocked, right? When like you see those, and I'm like, I know people who do them really well. And I'm like, good for you. I don't think that's my thing, you know. So I wanted to offer this class for the people who are the deep and slow, who maybe just get a little shocked when term marketing comes up. And I love like there are a lot of people that talk about this in different ways, but you know, Seth Godin is really amazing in his approach that the purpose of marketing is to change culture. And so for those of you that know my work, you know that I am very passionate about empowering women to bring their gifts forward. Why? Because the world needs you in your leadership, period. That's my deeper why. So right now I'm marketing to you. This is me doing the thing we're talking about. And I'm so delighted to see your faces, to have you here. You've been here before. We've been building a relationship over time. How amazing is that, that your business and your creative energy can be the thing that connects you to other amazing human beings. So can we reframe even the word business to say it's a constellation of relationships? Can we please build more of those? Like, can we really stop this, oh, I'm not good at money, I'm not good at business. Like, there's such a heavy systemic construct around, women being fully expressed in the business world, in money, in advertising. I mean, if we look back, we've been objectified, et cetera. I mean, we can just go into that conversation maybe another time. But there's definitely systemic issues around women being seen in their power and in their authentic expression. So marketing is the willingness to be seen in your gifts and to cultivate the kinds of relationships that are going to meet those who need you the most in their specific need for support, right? So it's about connection. So my client who shared that with me, it was such a meaningful sentence to me, because that has been the only reason that I could even fathom marketing, right? Was like, it has to be a heart-to-heart connection. For me, that's like the number one, is the heart-to-heart. So where do we go first? We often think marketing is an outward thing, but actually we need to go in first. We need to connect with our hearts first. Why is the heart so important? Because the heart is the seat of your purpose and your gift and your reason for being here. It's the seat of your spiritual connection, whether you call it a spiritual connection or not. It's the high heart, and the soul seat is right here, just above. Like the heart chakra is maybe here, I would say, and then you've got a seat. You've got the soul seat here. So this is, right, what you've come here to realize, and you realize it through relationships. And what I've found, and for me, it was the same, when I say what I've found, it's also, I've been finding more of, oh, yes, that was me. With relationships were always really difficult. And so there is an underbelly of vulnerability around being confident in relationship building. So I've said some of these things already, but why is marketing so important, right? One is, it's how you build trust, because you're basically showing up and saying, hey, I've been thinking about whatever, fill in the blank, and I wonder if you've been thinking about it too. If you're thinking about it too, I have an opportunity for us to get together and talk about it. Ta-da, class, right? Like meeting place, what we're doing today. So it's how you connect, it's how you build trust. It's also how you generate more of your work. How your work is generated is through expressing, marketing, messaging, creating. So it's a highly generative process. It's amazing how much, and I've been doing this now consistently. I've been building my practice over 20 years in different fashions and phases of growth. But over the last 5 years was when I got really seriously hit the point of like, okay, I've hit the point of no return. I cannot go without looking at this. And what I realized was, every time I did a new thing, I guess I was always that way, but every time like I taught a class, I would get another complete new perspective of like, oh, and then I get the next piece. And the reason I'm highlighting this is because I think oftentimes we may feel like, oh my God, I have to write that newsletter, or I have to, put out my thing, or I have to show up for this event. And it feels like that sometimes. And when we're aligning, there's this sequencing that happens and it builds. So instead of it feeling like an endless task of kind of depleting our energy resources and we have to do it, it can actually turn into an incredibly generative, creative process that builds our understanding of what we're actually doing. And that happens in the live space, right? I'm a big fan of teaching live classes because I really think that ultimately the work is in a live process. You just can't get it out of a book, yes, is nice, but really I'm a big fan of the alive process, right? And it like emerging out of the group. It's also important because when you send a communication out, people are actually learning from what you're sharing. So something that I've noticed, especially this year, is this differentiation between inspiring, but also educating. Like, it's one thing to inspire, which I think that's where it starts, especially for highly creative women, is they're just always inspired. They're usually always creating. But what the learning curve is often is like, well, what am I actually teaching people? And that's the inner place we got to go like, yeah, like, what am I really about? What am I really about? Like, I'm passionate about a lot of things, but I usually have like 3 main buckets, or something like that. We do have to kind of organize, especially if we're highly creative, because it's like, well, I can do this and I can do this and I can do this. And then it's like, okay. That's very confusing for other people. Like, it's great, it's exciting, but people can't really connect to it. And this often sends a lot of anxiety to when I'm working with people, it's like, yeah, what am I really about? And it can come in phases. One year you might be really passionate about teaching, it's like, this year is all about this. And then the next year there's a new layer that's emerged, which is great. And then you just kind of weave it into your overall curriculum. So yes, it's how you inspire, it's how you're seen in your excellence, your expertise, your uniqueness. And I also think it's so valuable because it's how people can feel you and like feel you in your humanness. And I'm just really like, I've made my notes, but I'm talking to you from my being. Like, I'm here with you. I'm not trying to get something over your head. I'm trying to share something that is deeply valuable, and that, yes, I do work on at a deeper level. And if you're interested in learning more about that, you can connect with me, in a call, and we can go deeper to see if this is the work you need to do, right? But like, the value is already given. Like, I'm not saying anything different with you today than I would with a client. I'm actually talking to you, right, as if I were working with a client in a way. It's a little bit of a different format, but because I'm more teaching right now. So marketing also, and I think this is an important point, is you are already delivering the most important and relevant material. You don't save that for later. You don't give away your work. You don't like get, that's the other thing. Like, you have to decide what is part of the free offering or the preview versus what is in the deeper, highly committed container that you're creating, right? So your one-on-one work or your group work or however it is that you teach and do your thing. But actually I found, like, when I just present the most important stuff, like what's really like alive for me and also alive for my clients, it usually brings together people who really need that. So being honest is really effective. Like, you know, because what do we often think about marketing? It's like not honest, they're trying to sell me something, it's slimy, whatever. But actually, if we just drop that completely and go, I'm just honestly showing up. And I'm going to give you all I got, you know, in the time that we have. So that you can really feel if this is resonating for you. So why is it hard? Oh, number one, it brings up every insecurity. Oh my gosh. Don't look, you know, like, what are they going to think? It can bring up feelings of imposter syndrome. And even deeper and more tender is the shame we feel that we're not good enough. That I can't do that, you know? And what if they do see me and I'm not good, you know? Or like there are complaints, or there's not validation when I do come out. I think that's a big one, especially I've heard that one probably the most this year. Like everyone went online because of the pandemic. So there was a lot of competition. Everybody felt like they were in this big sea, and it was like overload. I think there was like a lot of overload, and that's what's problematic. And that's why the internal space is so important. We must be anchored in our why and who we are, because once we get out there, and if we are sensitive or whatever, it can just be overwhelming to be like, well, but everybody's doing what I want to be doing. Usually you will see things like that pop up, especially in social media. And I just think that that's, I don't know, but my sense is like sometimes that happens because of the technology is like tracking, because they have, I don't know all that text, but I've heard stories where it's like, they're scanning the stuff. So like I'll write about something and then I'll see an ad for the same, and I'm like, why is that happening? You know, because technology is watching. I don't know. You guys, maybe one of you knows more about that than I do, but oh yes, that's true. Okay, great. So, but I don't I can't, if I pay attention to that kind of stuff, I will be off my own creative rhythm. So I would encourage, if it's difficult, you know, for you, like to create a practice around really remembering that the most valuable thing is really what you have inside to share. The social dilemma, great. Yeah, I love these resources. Thank you. So I think too, you know, if we think back to all of time, right? At some point when women were, you know, subjugated to silence, not being part of the conversation about how economic structures were being built and formed, government systems, et cetera, right? We're at a different point now where we are the ones that are changing the conversation. And it's not a gender issue. It's not, because I know there are men out there that also experience these same feelings. It's not a gender issue. However, I will say that what I hear across the board from women is how difficult it is to stand in their power, in their money, in their marketing, and in their asking, in their ability to ask for what they need out loud. And it's not a nothing thing. It's a big deal, and it's systemic, it's cultural, it's ancestral. And this isn't the class for that. That could be a whole conversation in and of itself, but I feel like it really weaves in to being seen and taking the risk to be seen in what you believe. So if you know Simon Sinek's work, he talks about just, you know, how inspiring leaders lead, or how leaders inspire, or the TED talk that he gave and the book that he wrote. But he basically says, start with why. And if you think about that, like, you know, Martin Luther King, for example, like he didn't have a social media account. He had a message and he was allowed about it, right? Ruth Bader Ginsburg, right? I don't think she was real. I think she was more in the books and, you know, doing her thing. But she stood for something. She was vocal about it. Like if you think about that kind of power, right? It's like, it's just electric. And why can't we have that move culture? Why are we giving it up to algorithms? Like it's not that, but we're being told that it's like, well, you don't have the book and you don't have this. And it's like, nope, I've got it all. And I've got to be vocal about it. And I've got to stand in it in the way that I can stand in it and share and speak and create, right? Why not do it that way where we're inspiring and educating and empowering rather than building more systems based around scarcity and comparison and competition and performance and judgment? What the hell is that? We don't need more of that. So, you know, and most of you here on this call, like I can see you nodding your heads going, yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, why not? Why not? Why are we not leading with more presence and empathy and compassion? But it begins in the relationships we create, right? Like it may feel at times like a big vision. You know, a lot of the women I work with, they have big visions to help heal the world. No joke. It's not an exaggeration. They're like, I feel like I need to do something big and I feel it big in me. And then that overwhelms because then they're like, but where do I begin? You know, or I'm at the beginning, like, oh my God, it's like one relationship at a time, one at a time, right? And once we start to do that, really, we recognize that we can't help everyone. We want to, right? We really want to help everyone. And, you know, I tried that route many years and it was hard to build anything sustainable. And so but the good news is that the more you learn about what you're really passionate about, what you really care about, and what you are here to do, like the gift you've been given, everybody has a gift. It's just you showing up fully. And when you learn what it's, the resource it provides for others, then you've got the magic key. Then you can turn it into a business. Then you can say, oh, this is actually a service. This is actually a resource. This is real. This is because we have to make it tangible. And that's the hard part, right? Is like, because a lot of times our gifts are unconscious competencies. They are the thing that we do that we just embody so naturally, we don't see it, but other people go, wait, no, you do that thing that you do. And it's like, really? Oh, right. You know, so, you know, that happens a lot where, you know, and it happens to me all the time. That's why I never go forward without support. But, you know, like just the other day I was sitting with my coach and, I told her, I was like, I know it's all here. I know it's here. She's like, yep. And we're gonna get to it. And so she saw I was freaking out, you know, because I want to create this new thing. And so I talked and unloaded, and she took notes, and then she, you know, in 1 minute or less reflected back like bop, 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 bop. And I was like, wow. So, you know, it's amazing when you have someone or people, you know, supportive community that is on the same journey, because that doesn't happen when you tell people that are not trying to do what you're trying to do. Okay. So one of the biggest things I've also heard is like, you know, when you share it with a friend or family, and then it's just shut down. Like the people closest to us often don't see that part of us. So when I say share it with someone or get feedback or reflection, share it with someone who kind of has some ground in the field you're in. Okay. If you can't afford a coach, or, if you are not ready for that, like get a good buddy. There are always people, creative people that you can connect with that will help you. So yeah, I have family that Diane, I could have said it better. I love that point. I have family that fears for my failure. And that's the other thing I wanted to mention too, is that the fear of failure often stops, right? And then it's re-emphasized and compounded by the family, right? You're going to do what? You're thinking, what? You're going to charge what? Or even like past teachers. When you grow and they're like, what are you doing now? And then we go, oh my gosh, what are they, so all those little edges of judgment. But yeah, I think that other people, it's interesting that it comes from the people closest to us, that they fear for our failure. And I think it's coming from that place that they care. They want us to be well, and the question I would ask right away is like, are they on that journey? Like, do they understand the context you're in? You're trying to build a business that has a spiritual alignment and actually cares about healing and deeper consciousness work, is a very different kind of business, right? Because then we have the other kind, like, well, a business could be a music company. Okay. Business could be a hardware store. Business could be a clothing shop. Business could be a coffee shop. Businesses can mean many different things. So when we say to people like, oh, my business, they can have a lot of their assumptions about what that should look like, right? So I think the sweetest place to be is when we can see that what we have to give is exactly the thing we want to build into the infrastructure of our business, that it's not separate. And the value you're here to bring is intimately tied with who you are. And we want the structures and the systems that you're using to reflect the values that you have, and also the appropriate boundaries you want to create with professional relationships, because there are all different kinds of relationships. And in building a business, you are building professional relationships, and there are constructs, structures, boundaries that need to be put in place so that the relationship can really flourish and be effective. So another thing that I see often is like, it's a tactic, building connections with people, and and then it kind of crosses the line where the person is like texting you, and and then like the client doesn't understand what the boundary is, maybe, or maybe you don't understand, that happens all the time, and that's fine. But I actually see it. I am on that side. I'm getting DMs through IG from people who don't know me that are supposedly marketing to me, trying to definitely sell me something that's explicit. And I'm like, how do they even find me? And I don't want this at all. It's such a infringement or imposition on a boundary. And so we have to be clear about those things. And I think it's important to notice when you have an experience. I had this experience last week. I got a message, and it approached me at first like it wanted to be my friend. It's like, I love what you do. Let's collaborate on something, blah, 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 blah. And then the next message was like, here, buy my stuff. And I was like, ooh, that is so not what I want at all. And it made me feel uncomfortable. It made me feel like, it didn't make me feel good at all. So I think that's important to know, but it was a huge teaching, because I was like, how important is it that I'm having that experience but also choosing, I don't want others to have that experience of me. So it's good to also have the experience of the contrast and be very clear about what it is you want to create that is really truly aligned for who you are. And there's no right way to do it. You know, we have to figure out what is the right way for you. So I guess I want to pause because I wanted to kind of give you those pieces and kind of lay that down as the foundation. But I'd love to hear from you a little bit about what your experience is with marketing, or, you know, like, where's the challenge for you? And how can this session be supportive to you today? So just take a moment to think about those 3 questions, like, what is marketing to you? What's your challenge with it? And what do you want to receive out of today? And if you don't feel comfortable unmuting yourself and sharing that verbally, you can just type it in the chat if you want to share about, because I'd love for this session to really answer some questions and troubleshoot. So, and we'll get to that. So if you feel comfortable and you want to just hop off mute and share where you're at with all of this, would love to hear from you. See how we can support you today.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm happy to go first. And it's interesting because the word marketing is, yeah, it's so kind of broad and scary that I haven't even put what I do into that category. And what I do is broad, and I'm working on the focusing on what I'm bringing to the world part. But what I do is have one newsletter that I put out, and it's to people whom I know well, and they've given, requested this, and it's so small that I just am still in that process of wanting to know every single person who receives my gifts. And so it just feels scary actually to step out of that and go even broader to people I don't know, if that makes sense. And so my intention to go to be small and personal, and I haven't yet had any, I teach yoga, but I haven't had classes with some of the other work that I do. And so rather it's one-on-one. So I just feel so small and intentionally small. And again, it's good to, I'm so, again, I keep saying that, but it's like, I can't let myself get out of control or get too big or too out there without being really, really low to the ground and one-on-one interpersonal. So that's my situation, is kind of like the babyest steps forward, for fear of going too far. And I have one Instagram, I do one account associated with it that's an Instagram that I just use as a way of sharing kind of the teachings that I share, but it's never been a way of getting somebody to work with me or something. I just can't, again, I can't go there yet. So clearly there's some fear here. Yeah, so that's that. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Nora. I just wanted to ask, what's the fear?
Oh, the fear is, it starts with being inauthentic. So like trying to match what I think I should be doing or sharing or saying. And the fear is also, connecting with strangers who I don't know, and what is their intention with me, and are they trying to get something from me that I can't give them, like energy wise, even are they gonna immediately cross the boundary and I'm gonna shut it out. I prefer to know to know my enemies, you know, to know the people who are I'm interacting with.
Okay, so we've got clients as prospective clients as possible enemies. Okay, so very interesting to notice. It's honest, and I love it because I hear it that you're not alone in that. But just isn't that so interesting?
Yeah.
And
And it just
so
came out. I haven't been thinking, it just came out as I was talking. So clearly that's something under the surface.
I'm so glad that you were feeling free enough to share it with us. So
Yeah.
great to notice. Good. Okay. All right, great. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
I'll go after that because my challenge is like going, I want to get out of the people I know and get away from them because of limited beliefs, my own limited beliefs and connections with them from years and years and years. And I feel that's keeping me in that container, in that place where I'm staying small when I could be going out. And it's also, you know, I love the way you described the marketing, Andrea, because as connection and as sharing your gifts, letting people get to know you. Because I feel like when I send the newsletter to the group, which is mostly acquaintances I've had for a long time, that that's where I do feel like I'm selling, and it's uncomfortable. And so just learning that was really helpful, just hearing it in that way. I think I'm ready now that I can embody that rather than marketing is selling and pushing, and then all the fears that go around not being able to deliver. So that was helpful. And I liked hearing Nora's perspective about that too, because that could be scary too.
I love the selling is uncomfortable, selling is pushing, selling is, or marketing is selling, like those pieces. I'm curious, can I ask a question? When you send the newsletter and they're people that you've known for a long time, is there anything else that comes up for you when you share an offer that you have with them? Anything else?
Yeah, that fear they won't want to pay, the fear that it's too much, the judgment around, and I'm not sure where that judgment is, that she's a business person trying to.
You're an entrepreneur, Diane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
And that Marianne Williams, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I thought you were a healer. Now you're a business person.
Yeah.
I'm teasing a little bit, but I know the feeling. What were you gonna say, Marianne Woodman?
Oh, Marianne Williamson's quote about staying small, but if we expand, I don't remember the words, but if we expand, it gives permission for others to expand too. I'm just having a hard time turning that around to be true for me. Mm-hmm.
So when you send a newsletter announcement out, announcing an offer, and I know your offers are in-depth, comprehensive, filled with value. You've shared them with me. And so I know that there's a lot in there that you're offering. How would you like them to receive the offer? How would you like them to feel when they receive your newsletter?
Like, oh, wow, Diane's sharing her gifts. Diane has this really cool, this really in-depth program. I want to talk to her about it. I think it could benefit me.
How does that feel?
Scary. It feels vulnerable to think they would receive it that way.
And if they received it that way, what would happen?
They might sign up. They might and maybe I would begin to trust a little more that in the value I have to offer.
And if they sign up, what would happen?
What was that?
If they sign up, what else would happen?
They might benefit from, they might grow, they might transform some of their own stuff, inner stuff.
Yeah, we can't guarantee it, right?
Right.
We have
That's the scary part. And there's the control, I guess, that.
Yeah. No, there's no controlling anyone's process, right? Like,
Right.
yeah, no guarantee. So with that fear, I can't promise them that they're going to transform, which I hear a lot, right? It's like,
Yeah.
how can, I mean, no one can.
Right.
And how, with knowing that, feeling that, what can we do? Relax into their path and their willingness to commit, to find out their willingness to commit and offer what's worked. I mean, I guess for me, it would be like offer what's worked for me and other clients I've had, and trust the process for all of us. And when you feel into the word trust, how does that feel as an embodied quality for you?
I don't know, tears are coming up and I don't know why. I mean, the desire to shed tears is coming up, but it also feels like there's more to it, like there's something up here holding my soul's longing. And it feels more expansive than me, bigger.
And you can lean into that. Can you lean into that?
Yeah.
Can you feel it?
I'm willing to try.
And when you do, when you have those moments that you really lean into it and feel it and let it come in, how is that for you?
kind of what comes to mind is, okay, let's dive in.
No holding
Trust
back.
something's going to catch me.
Great.
I don't know. That's very interesting. I've never been there before. Thank you, Andrea.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we can all do that with Diane for ourselves. I think it's a really beautiful expression of trust. You can really feel it and see it in you, Diane. So thank you for inspiring us. But yeah, why don't we all like feel that for like what is trust for you, right? And Diane said it's something up here bigger than me that is holding me, and I can lean into it. So maybe we just take the next minute to lean into that for ourselves, how we identify with that support. And supporting Diane and feeling that, and everyone in the call, and just kind of coming in as a group to support one another and feeling this unique sense of trust. Feeling it all the way through the body. And just noticing that if you move from this place, create from this place, share from this place, what becomes possible for you. What changes in your life as a result of this trust? And you feel like it, maybe we'll just take the next minute to, write about your experience if you want to take some notes, or maybe you just want to sit quietly and still feel it. Just letting it fully land for you. Thank you, Diane, for bringing that. So, yeah. So we'll take another maybe 10 minutes to share, about this topic or whatever's coming up for you. Because I'd like to reserve some time to get some working work done, so you get some practical stuff out. But would anyone else like to share what's coming up for you? Hi,
Hi.
how are
I
you?
feel like it's good. It's been a little while. So before I came on here, I wasn't gonna show because I was gonna like relax, and I've been stressed, and I was like, no, I need to make this time for myself. And for the past week and a half, I feel like I've been angry. And I was already feeling emotional even before Diane shared what she shared. And I guess I need to be in this space talking about it because like I've been so angry that I really haven't been making any money, and it's been a while. Like I'll get like 1 or 2 clients here or there, and it's never consistent. And it makes me angry. Because I feel like I've been trying for so hard for so long. And then I feel like on the opposite end, because I get desperate and I get angry, I know like I am a little salesy sometimes. And it's just because I'm so desperate to make any type of income in my business. And even then, it's like, what the heck? Like, I can't get people signed up to my moon gatherings or my apothecary shop, like, which are my less, like, they're not much, let alone my one-on-one coaching or my one-on-one services. And I was thinking about this like the other day with myself, that I know part of it. And then at the same time, I feel like a fraud because the basis of my work is ancestral healing. And like I realized the other day, part of this, and I guess that's why I'm angry, and is just like I've carried the identity of a poor girl for so long because I've been poor my whole life, you know, and I don't know how to let it go and trust because this is all I know, you know. And it's just like, how do I get from like point A to point Z? And it's like, I want to help people. Like ancestral healing is such a deep passion of mine. Like it's literally everything I want to do because I understand the pain and the wounds that's associated, especially with people of color, people in poorer demographics that have been through so much and didn't have the therapy or the help that they needed. Like, that's why I do what I do. It means so much to me. But like, how can I do that when the very people I'm trying to speak to, I just don't feel like my message is being heard. Like I don't feel heard. Like, yeah, I get a lot of likes on Instagram, but that doesn't mean shit. um like I yearn the genuine the friendships and the soul tribe that I'm trying to attract my clients. And it's just like I've been trying to hack at this block for so long that at this point I'm just like, I'm angry.
Good. Good. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry that I know you don't like being angry, but actually it's like we need to get to the place, and then we need to also support the anger, right? No longer want to run that down underneath into the, we want to bring it out. And I think that it's so important to say it and to express it. So I'm really glad that you're saying it. How many of you have felt this way too?
Okay, thank you.
Oh my gosh, no one's hearing me. I am a passionate motherfucker and I am pissed. No one's hearing me. Like, I'm totally, yes. Because you have so much, I can feel it. There's so much to give. You have this huge council at your back, which, right? It's like, you're there. And so the work is deep. The work works. What's not working, what I'm hearing is what's not working is something in the way that the message somehow is not landing, and you may not actually know yet why, or so where we may go is it's not working, I'm not working, this isn't working, and so this is proving to me that this isn't the thing, or we can go down that. I'm not saying that's exactly, but that tends to show up. And usually when we're there at the anger or the frustration, there's a redesign we need to do. We need to do an audit. We need to go, okay, wait a second. What are you doing? What is it that you're saying? Because what's not working is going to point to the work that's needed, right? So a lot of us, we work in our business. We want to be working in our business. We want to be with clients. We want to be teaching. We want to be creative. We want to be in the aliveness of it. And then there's this whole other aspect to it where we have to work on our business, which is a lot about noticing where things are breaking down, noticing where we feel incredibly vulnerable, where we don't feel like we have the answers, like being in the unknown. And it's often overlooked. And tell me if you have felt this before, like, I have to figure it out on my own, right? Like, maybe we've even signed up for like a gazillion courses on how to build it. It's not like you haven't done the work to go, I've learned these strategies, and people told me to do this, but it's just somehow it's not working for me in a particular manner. And that's when I get really curious and I go, okay, wait, so what's going on? And how can we help shift the dynamic? And one is like, so the anger is the indicator of like, this is really not what I want. It's not okay. This isn't working for me. And then we need to look and ask, like, okay, what is going on? And then feeling into that. So I do want to do some work around that, but I'm curious. And when I say it's not working, I don't mean your work doesn't work or you don't work. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is something in the mix is going, like, I don't know what that is, right? But it could be, okay, there's an inner piece, right? Where there's like this strong identification. Maybe also there's this, like you said, like, I just want to drop that identity of the poor girl and the pain of my family and long time, right? So that's an inner healing piece that may need time to unwind, right? Right. So like those pieces, those inner pieces, they're so important, and they're not quick fixes.
I know. I think that's why I'm angry.
Yeah, sure. I totally. It's kind of like, when I would, back in the day when I was teaching yoga, and I would just be like, relax. And people would be like, I am stressed and tense. I cannot relax. And they would get angry at me or they wouldn't outwardly, but I could feel they're like, they're not relaxing. Why is that? And it's because they didn't feel safe.
Okay.
So what we want is to create safety for the anger to be fully expressed, and also where that identification feels unsafe. And then say, okay, how can we make this part feel safe first before we do anything else? Where's the safety? And then we ask, well, can we talk about it a little more, right? Can you tell me what's going on? Are you open and willing? Is this part of you that feels unsafe or stuck, willing to, brainstorm a little bit with me, right? Like, we gotta get, so when there's a strong part, we want to ask permission, and there's no forcing. It's an invitation, and we have to kind of sense, okay, how far? Because if you force, then it's a shutdown, right? I'm talking about the body and talking about like the more underbelly of the work. Once we kind of create the safety and the connection, and there's a clear agreement around, okay, we're willing to work on this, then we look at strategy. Then we go, okay, tell me what's not working. Let's look at one of your posts. You know, are the people that are, this is the exercise I want to do, so I don't want to go just into it yet, but okay, so one is, right, knowing the deeper why for you, like, and you've said that, you're like, ancestral healing is my everything, it's my soul's purpose, I know this. So you have the deeper why. The deeper why is foundational because it's going to get us through all the highs and lows and the ups and downs. It will always carry us through the uncertainty. It might not always feel good, but we know, right? Like Diane brought up, it's that place I can lean into and go, it's the bigger picture, right? It's my soul's purpose to do this work. So we want to begin there, right? Usually that creates quite a bit of safety as well. Okay. Second is, do we know who they are? Do we know what they need? And do they know what they need? Often they don't know. They might not know, right? So you're saying something, but they're not yet identified with what you're saying. There won't be a match. So if you say ancestral healing, I'm just giving an example. It's very broad, and I'm not saying that's what you do. I'm just saying, giving an example. Right? So what we want to do is go a little deeper and go, well, do you know, like, so this is where, we want to kind of go into, well, I really do feel like I want to help. I'm probably more geared to helping this person. Doesn't mean I can't help other people, but I'm usually drawn to helping this person because what they are challenged by is something I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that because, like, I guess a marketing term that I guess we're all familiar about is as far as like our niche, going down to our niche and speaking to our potential clients' pain point. And I guess that's something I've also realized maybe I haven't really been clear on. And like I was toying with the idea about narcissistic relationships because most people that have but like, you know what I mean? Those things, they can go both far away. And I guess like, that's why I'm angry, because I'm just like, I should know this. And it's just like,
Good. I'm glad you said that. I should know this. And maybe it's okay if you don't. Because maybe you've changed and evolved as a practitioner and you're at a new place. And what you thought it was is now different. And so whenever someone says that, like, I don't know, or I should know, I go, maybe you need to do a little research. Right. And then, people say, well, why do I have to do that? And it's like, well, you could do a class and learn a lot, like it doesn't have to be something you don't want to do, but there is something to, like, for example, like when I was teaching, again, I just use yoga because it's an easy example, but it's very straightforward. But like, I would learn a lot from my students every week. I would be showing up to the classes and they'd be telling me about all their ailments and injuries. And I'd be like, we need a shoulder therapeutics class. But I would have never known that had they not been showing up and telling me I'm in pain in my shoulder. So part of it is creating a conversation where there is dialogue and people are actually telling you, I need this, right? So similarly, why I'm offering a class on marketing, because I was hearing this disconnect of like, I inspire people, but nobody's signing on. I get a lot of likes on my page, but nobody's booking in for a call. Right. And so I think part of it is it's an epidemic with the social media and the comparison, the competition, and the feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm just a small one person and I, don't have like 40,000 followers or whatever. But actually, even if you had 40,000 people following, if you weren't specific about what you do for who it is and why, it wouldn't really be very helpful. Like before we scale, we need to be super clear about who am I and why am I doing this really? And who do I really want to support? And what is their greatest challenge? And it's okay if you don't know that, because it will evolve and it will clarify over time. You start where you are, right? So I'm actually going to use this as an entry into the work I want to do today. Is that okay with you? I think everybody could benefit from this, like, because we're here in this space right now, like we're on this topic. Because I want to give you the things of like when I sit down to do this, these are the things I think about. Like I want to give you the step-by-step process. So step-by-step process in identifying, right? So number one, like, how do we shift all of this, right? Number one is knowing your deeper why, so that you can navigate ups and downs and uncertainty and growth with a clear sense of purpose and meaning. So you can really feel tethered to what's most important to you. And then we want to go to, what do your clients need from you? So one, we need to know who your clients are. Okay, so the first question you want to ask is, number one, who am I creating for, really? Okay, now this will evolve. It's okay. You know, you can say, well, I know that they're women and I know that they struggle with narcissistic abusive relationships. And I know that they want something, they want healthy relationship. I'm just riffing here, but you know, it can be very like, I don't know, I'm just figuring it out, you know, just on the surface, right? We're just data collecting a little bit. So who am I creating for? What is their number one challenge, or what are the challenges? And then what is it that they really, really, really want? Okay. Now, this is pre-ideal client and niche work, because the ideal client and niche work requires research over time. Really does. It's not a one-shot deal, because you change, they change, your ideal clients evolve. Like the people who I'm interviewing this year are very different. It's like every year it evolves, and I have to track that. Now that doesn't mean it's totally off topic. I still help women on a deeply spiritual path who want to be on purpose in their life, build businesses that are aligned with their spiritual calling. But I also do work with women feeling like they need to reconnect to who they are for the sense of purpose and direction in their life in all areas, like relationships, spiritual development. But every year it's like, who am I creating for? Like this year, like the theme for me that's coming up is, I really want to emphasize the inner leadership that's needed. So I'm really speaking in terms of what's true for me, but also what's true for the people that are coming towards me. So it's okay if, because some people go, I don't know. I think my niche is this, and then they change and they think something's wrong, but it's probably just distilling. It's probably getting more and more clear. Okay, so then we want to ask, all right, if we can, what is the gateway issue? Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is when you talk about narcissistic abusive relationship, they know they're in one, or it's the most important challenge they face. Now, they might not describe it that way. So that's something we have to like clarify, right? Because you might know, like the narcissistic abusive relationship feels a little bit more like a deeper diagnosis. They might just be like, why do I keep attracting the same partner over and over again? I'm in a pattern. And that's actually more real to them than if you diagnose it as a narcissistic abusive relationship. They're just like spinning in like, oh my God, I'm in this thing again. And I don't know what it is. So I don't know, that's a question I kind of have, but that's an important question. It's like, are we speaking to the thing that they know they have, that they know they're in, right? So, does that feel clear, right? Like sometimes it's more surface that people need to hear. They need to hear like, I'm just in that cycle again. Oh my gosh, you know? And what's really going on is that they're in a narcissistic, abusive dynamic in their relationship, and it's being informed by whatever. So we have to know what components of like their upbringing, self-esteem, what's on the inside that's contributing to them attracting the same partner over and over again, right? Which your work can definitely help them shift out of. But we have to understand both the surface level, what they need to hear, because we need to speak into their listening. So, so think about what is like it's usually a thing that comes up over and over and over and over and over again that they say, right? So for me, it's, I have this like inexplainable longing inside of me to bring it out in my gifts, my relationship, my business. Like they have this longing inside of them that they don't quite understand, and it's very big, and they don't know how to get it down into the practical everyday. It's like landing the vision is really like, so what I had to talk about was, do you feel this incredible desire to share your gifts, but you have no idea how to do that or where to begin? Right? And so it's like, if I put that out there, people hear it. If I go into, well, we have to read your Akashic records and figure out where you're, I don't know, like something more technical or like healer speak, is not gonna make sense, or it won't really, it'll be a little lofty and like more conceptual rather than something they can feel in their body. So the gateway problem or the gateway issue is usually something that they feel in their body. You know, that they really, when you say it, it's like, oh my gosh, I really feel that. And the reason that this is important, you know, I hear a lot of times people will say, oh, and by the way, I can go, I think I said 2:30, but I think this is going to go till 3. But if you have to hop off at 2:30, I understand. I just want to do the whole process and get it, you know, on here. I'm sorry. I think we said 2:30 and it's already almost 2:30. Part of the reason it's important to speak to the pain point, you know, a lot of people will tell me, and I was like that as well. I'm like, I don't want to talk about the pain. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I don't want to make anyone feel bad. The purpose of it is to let people know that you understand. Right? So when, you know, when you're talking about something like, you're in an abusive relationship and you don't know how to get out, I really want you to know that I understand that journey. And you may even be feeling shame about being in the same situation again, and you did it again. But there's a deeper avenue for healing here. And I want you to know that I can support you through that healing journey. And these are the reasons why. This is what I have learned over my experience of supporting others, is that number one, we have to create safety for you. Number two, we have to get in touch with your emotional body and support you in feeling your true emotions rather than being dominated by someone who's manipulating you or whatever, you know, whatever. But like you got to break it down and say, I see this as the first step. I really want you to feel safe. I would like for you to feel that safety, that you can talk about anything, and you know, and so this is why I offer a complimentary discovery session. So the technology we use, right? Everybody here probably has heard like, opt in for your free discovery call. Like the reason that is so important is because you want to make sure that you can meet them and say, like, when I do those calls, like, I love those calls now, but like in the beginning, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to, but it was that talking, I have to talk to someone so new and develop this trust. So that's why the marketing and like what you share and what you write is like the know, like, and trust phase, right? Where you're like, I understand. I'm here for you. I know how hard this is. And this is what I had to learn. And this is what I now teach. Now, the criticism I hear is like, I've heard this, I've been on some marketing conversation threads, and people are like, how can you say that you can help someone with the same thing you struggled with? Well, there's a blueprint that's created. Now, I'm not saying that like anybody should be like, well, I went through that, so I can help you. Like, you need to know like what you do. You need to have like, I got this, right? Like we don't want to just whip out like, yep, I was in an abusive relationship too. Here, let me help. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is like knowing how you really help. And part of it is your healing journey will often reflect in the clients. Like when I started doing craniosacral therapy, it was really interesting. All of my clients reflected back family members of mine. So I was actually moving through a period of healing those dynamics, and it was showing up in my client. It's not like that so much today, although I can see pieces, which is not uncommon. It was so interesting that like my healing work was giving me the next level. But the key is being very conscious and intentional about how you design the client space. You need to know what kind of container you're building. You need to know, why are they stuck where they are? And yeah, does my work actually support them? So the top level, okay, so this is how I do it. I'm not good with PDFs, so I just handwrite it. But so what I do is I do this over and over and over again. I'm a notebook person, I'm a pen person. I don't do this, so bear with me. Point A is all the things that the challenges. This is where they are in the pain. I'm in this cycle again. Oh my gosh, right? Point A, okay? Where they are. Oh my gosh, here I am again, this narcissist or this relationship. I attracted the same person. Oh my gosh, I'm so angry. I'm disappointed. I'm sad. I'm stuck, whatever. Take your time with this column, okay? And understand it with compassion. That's all. Then we also want to know, well, where are we going? Point B, over here. Where are we going? I want to know and love myself. I want to know I respect myself. I want to know that I can attract a partner that will meet me in my soul and my heart. I want healthy relationships. I want to drop that pattern I have with my mother. Like whatever it is over on the B, like what do they want? Where do they want to go? Now, again, like we were talking with Diane, like, can we promise the result? No, we can't. That's the thing. That's why it's challenging, because that's why the boundaries around communication and agreement, like I want to understand you so much that I know where I'm going to support you in going. Like no one can give anyone any of this, right? Like when someone comes and they go, I'm having migraines, and I go, okay, well, I think craniosacral therapy can help you with it. I can't tell them like they're going to be gone in the third week of May, like it's just, are we willing to come together, right? Do I trust myself enough to hold the client? Does the client trust me enough to hold them? And does the client trust themselves enough to go through the journey where we are on a journey together? So it's a collaborative effort, right? That's why the communication the clarity is so important. That's why we as the practitioner need to do our own work. Right? And then we go, oh, yep, got it. Okay. This is, and then people come and you're like, yep, awesome. Yay. Yes, and so we'll work on the next, the second class I'm offering this week, which you're all invited to, is about the enrollment conversation, how to talk to people and and how to work with objections and concerns and like the relationship building. Anyway, okay, so we've got point A, point B, top level complaints, right? So you might want to think, well, if someone's in this relationship patterning, what are they often saying? What are they saying to themselves? And so they might say like, oh, I can't believe I'm in this pattern again. And there's no one really out there ever that's going to understand me, or something like that. And then you could write a post about that exact thing and be like, I believe that one day too, but it's just a belief, right? And so what I do with my clients is I help them navigate their limiting beliefs about the relationship they can have in these ways. And I'd love to support you. If you're curious, sign up for a complimentary call and I'll walk you through and we can see what's happening for you, and it's an honest, truthful share. It's educational, and it's also no obligation. Like, let's just get together and see, like, I care, you're in a position, let's talk about it, let's see if it's aligned. So then underneath the top level, okay, so you see how I have this like triangle thingy. So in the middle is what we say, where are they stuck? Why? What's going on underneath? Now, we obviously don't have all the answers to that on our own, but we want to have an understanding of like, why does this keep happening? And usually, right, if we're helping others that reflect in our own healing journey, and we have that, the thing is, we have that knowledge in our body, right? Like, it's not a thing, it's a cellular vibration. It's like, I went through that. And I am now, I went through it, and I embody the imprint of that experience in my cells. And I'm so passionate about helping others that I'm going to make sure that I'm going to set things up, have my whatever certificates I need, training I need, or whatever, to be able to support those people. Because the certificates, I have many of my clients have like all these trainings, right? Like, we study this, study that, study this, but ultimately we've got to bring it down into something that's like, it holds, and we go, yep, I got a lot of tools in my toolbox, but I'm going to hold you because this is what's going to come up as we go. And those can be other educational shares, newsletters, posts, any way you like it. There's so many ways. So, but when we can convey about the journey and say, when you're struggling with this, what I have learned is that this is actually underneath. And without getting to what's underneath, you can't really, right? Then we just keep cycling around the same, and that's okay. We're human. And this is what I learned to kind of support what's underneath. We're going to go like this together, and then we're going to go here together. But what's so amazing is that the client informs the work, right? We don't know, actually. And so the most powerful thing is I know how to show up for you in any moment. And I'm with you the whole way, even if I don't, it's not about having an answer, right? And if I don't know the answer and you need an answer, we'll figure out a way, maybe there are other resources that we need to go. So then underneath the diagnosis, or the depth, the deeper diagnosis of like why they're stuck, what's happening underneath, the things they can't see, like one of the things, like I said previously, like for me, usually like the client will come in and they'll be like, I know that I can no longer continue the way I've been going. They're at a crossroads. They're just totally at the crossroads. And I go, I understand. Right. And I know that when you're in that crossroads, the uncertainty can be so overwhelming, but I want you to know that that's part of the process. Right. So being able to normalize what is really going on underneath, really being able to meet them there and just be with them, not try to fix it. So when I say solution, I don't mean fixing it necessarily. I mean, how does your work support the client in their process? So you might have, right, like this experience, like you have to kind of so one way that I do it is you kind of take stock of all the things you've studied, you know, all of the degrees, like how many of you have like, you know, studied so many things and right, it's like, oh, and I'm probably going to do another training this year. Like, okay, we love learning, that's great, but at some point I would like to encourage you to stop and create your own, right? Like you're probably, all of you are at the place where it's like, you could just stop right now and create your own, right? And I know I know a lot of you are. And then, right, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm bringing out this unique model of working and it's so intimate, you know, it's like everything we've harvested, right? So you kind of make a list of like, well, what have I done? What have I really carried forward? And how does that really reflect in the work I want to be doing? Right. So for example, you know, I love doing Akashic Records readings. I really do. I love it. I love that work. But the reason I stopped offering it on its own was because I saw how people would get the download and then not do anything with it. And that's not anybody's, I'm not blaming, I don't mean it in that way, but they would just walk away and be like, wow, but they didn't know what to do with it either. And that was on me because I was like, I need to create a system where they can work with it, you know, because it's so much. They'd often like feel a little overwhelmed or blown away, like really like, it was just overwhelming. And so what I recognized was like, I have to create a better system. So that's when it started weaving into like healing work and body work and coaching and teaching and mentorship. So you have to start to think like, okay, I have this thread, like Diane, I know you have a lot of threads, right? So, and I know you're working on, but it's like, you can kind of start to see that each thread you've studied is like a thread, a color, and then you weave it into what will become your tapestry, right? Your program, your community. It's even woven into your newsletters, right? Everything that you create is made of all these beautiful threads of knowledge, wisdom that you have in your cells. And that's when it gets really fun because you're like, wow, all the pieces, it's like a symphony, like all the instruments are playing in harmony. And yeah, I don't know if we're going to get to all of that today, but that's like, you can see like there's a whole process about how do I assimilate all the things that I have to offer into something that is shaped well, that is useful, that is compelling, and that inspires and creates and supports transformation, right? We're basically talking about personal development. Most of you on this call, and if you're, you know, on these classes, are working in, you know, working with people on personal development, right? like you're in a developmental structure. And that's also why, like, I often will, not argue, but maybe I will argue with some people about single sessions, because I really feel like for particular practitioners, that model doesn't work very well. Because what you really want to offer is that deep container, right? I know practitioners that are very skilled, that have a very broad global network, that are really like, they've had that exposure, that they can only do one-on-one sessions, but it's very unique and contextual for each person. Like, there's not one way to do it. So the reason I want to say that is I want to encourage you not to compare your model with anyone else. Like, you need a model of working that works for you, and it may even evolve every year or every cycle that you offer it. It's okay for it to change, but the alignment and the consistency is really the internal place of knowing, the bigger why, and then having these very clear ways of supporting your clients. And we go through different stages of growing, like, it's okay wherever you are. It's part of the process. You don't need to be ahead anywhere. We can only be where we are. So I will say one more thing, like, another component of this is, like, I have so many ideas and I can do so many things. So what are some basic structures that I can put into place to support my marketing, but also support clients getting to know how they can work with me? Okay. So number one is having some form of regular communication. Okay, whatever that is. Social media posts, newsletter, podcast, interviews. There's so many ways, right? I'm not saying I want you to have all of those things. I want you to kind of choose what are your most important ways of communicating and doing it regularly. So, and you don't need to be on social media every day to be effective. You just need to choose. I post Monday, Wednesday, Friday at this time every week, or if that's too much for you, every other week, whatever, right? It just needs to be regular, and it needs to be on topic for exactly like these reasons. Okay. Just talking about anything and everything. You want to be like, this is really what I'm inviting you into. I care this much about this, right? The other thing is having a signature class of some kind that educates your clients about the importance of what you do. So I'll give you an example. Like, some of you, right, a lot of you actually have been to the new moon circles I host. I do that because it's sheer pleasure for me. And it also gives people an experience of what channeling might be, energy work. We do a whole bunch of things in there, right? But it's not educating anyone. Well, it's educating, but I'm not like breaking it down like I'm doing today, right? So that's fun, and I love those, and I do them once a month for fun and to build community. But I that's my choice. I show up, I love it. But if it's something that I, was like I have to love it, I guess, is the thing. It's like the key. Like, if you don't love it, we need to figure something else out. Okay. Then I also, right, have classes where I educate, like today, where I'm like, it's a topic. And these were the questions I asked myself. I said, what is it? What are we talking about today? We're talking about marketing. Number two, why is marketing important? Why is it important? Number 3, why is it hard? But I didn't say why it was hard for everybody. I said, why is it hard for women on a deeply spiritual path who are reluctant entrepreneurs, right? That are like, I don't really want to be a businesswoman. I want to be on purpose in my life and I want to help people. You know, it's like there's a specific framework here. You know, it would be different if I was talking to, I don't know, executive coaches who work in Washington who are in a different context. Like I know people who also have trouble with marketing. It's a different context. I would be bringing up different things. Do you see that? Is that helpful? Like, I think that's also where we get to know, like, I am speaking to my audience. I'm taking into consideration really who I'm talking to. And it doesn't mean I can't talk to a different audience about marketing. I would just prepare differently. It would be a different way. Okay. And then the 4th question I asked myself in preparation was, well, how do we shift? How do we make the shift from marketing being something we dread or feel like it's an endless tasks of tasks to something that is inspiring, educational, creative, and supports us in building our work? Okay. And then I asked myself, okay, what's the reframe I want to spin on marketing, right? Like when I really tap into why I really care about this, what is the reframing of it that I want to offer? And right, I want to reframe it as a deeply creative practice that you can implement when, you know, as much as you want, as little as you want, but that helps build and generate what you want, the kind of results you want to see. Okay, so instead of seeing it as something you have to do, can you make it into something you love to do because it's creative, it's connecting, and it's already a contribution? Those are things that are important to me. I want it to be creative, I want it to connect, and I want it to feel already like a contribution. I want to contribute. I want it to be useful. That's really important to me. And also to a lot of my clients, they're like, I want to know it works and I want to know it helps. How many of you feel that same way? Like what you do can actually help, right? Yeah. And I know it already does, like it does, but we have to also ask ourselves, well, how does it? You know, like, you know, sometimes we're like, I know it does, but how? Okay, so that's kind of the next step is, well, how do we do it? So I thought it would be nice to bring someone into the conversation and see what you've got going on and how can we create a step-by-step process and kind of use the example. Diane, you need to hop off? Okay. Would anyone like to volunteer to kind of go through a step-by-step process? How do we create a strategy?
I guess I'll go.
Okay, great. All right, so let's start with who it's for. Let's see who it's for as best as you can.
So, okay, I'm gonna try to say this as less wordy as possible. But I realized with everything that you said, a big pain point that I noticed is that word itself, feeling safe. Women who don't feel safe to be empowered to be their authentic selves.
Okay, great. And why? Why is that the case, that they don't feel safe to be their authentic selves?
Because a lot of them have had either some form of trauma or toxic family patterns. Specifically, like the women I have worked with, a pattern that I keep noticing, and even within myself, is like narcissistic abusive parents, more so like the mother, because they didn't get that nurturing, so they don't feel safe to be creative, to be authentic, to be themselves.
Okay, so they want to be creative, they want to be authentic, they want to feel safe and empowered.
Mhm.
Okay, great. And their experience has been toxic family patterns. When you say the word toxic, what do you mean?
Like abusive family patterns, emotionally, mentally, physically abusive.
Okay, so
Yeah.
okay. And what are some of the things that they experience within that? Like what is the physical conditions they feel? What's the emotional? What describe, if you have one person in mind, it might make it easier, like one person that you
Mhm.
kind of feel into. What are they experiencing as a result?
Well, I feel like most of us, including me, like I said, we've had the same experience in this particular situation where I feel like, especially in the Latin community, a lot of women, a lot of girls, all women, but mostly that, feeling as though that we have to play a certain role, otherwise we're not worthy, and constantly feeling belittled by our mothers and that we're not good enough. And then it makes us feel like, we can't do anything right. We can't be ourselves, because every time we try being ourselves, we're criticized, and we have to focus on helping the family, on making a family, on providing for the family, doing everything for everybody else but ourselves.
Okay. Mhm. What else?
And like these women, they still have very difficult, complicated relationship with their mothers because of this.
Okay, so that's a focus actually. So when you say that to me, I'm like, bing, right?
Yeah, I realized as you were talking.
Yeah, so I would say that if we're gonna say, we're gonna niche it down or get more specific. And when I say niche or ideal client, I just mean like the
Mhm.
arrow, like there, and so it's okay. It can be someone who has an okay relationship with their mom, but it sounds to me that there's something in that that's passionate for you, right? It lights up for me when you talk about it. It's like women who have challenging relationships, maybe even in the Latin community specifically, that have challenging relationships with their mothers. So we're healing a mother wound. Yeah. So, which fits in really beautifully with your ancestral healing.
Yeah, that's why when I said narcissistic relationship, I was referring to that, because a lot of these women have narcissistic mothers.
So everybody, do you get that? How we just went ding, like that lands. That's very different than saying, are you in a narcissistic abusive relationship? You can say, so I'm going to give you some questions, homework, but I would ask like, okay, what are the symptoms of that kind of relationship? It's very specific. So specificity is powerful. Specificity is what speaks to the person in their most intimate being. Like, it also says, I see you, I hear you, I know you, and I would like to support you. So what are the symptoms of a mother wound? You could even do a class, right? Like healing the mother wound. I don't know. You don't need to use those words. I'm just giving you an example. Like right away I go, okay, how can Angelia educate women in her community about the mother wound? They might not even know what it, let's just call it, I'm just going to call it that for right now. Then I would go, well, then you can't just say that. You have to go, what is it? Why is it important? Why is it hard to heal? And how do you do that? That's an educational marketing piece of content that teaches them something specific about something that's very specifically oriented to them. So imagine someone walking around going, why do I feel so like I can't ever do anything right? They're walking around, that would be the surface level. I can't do anything. I can never do anything right. And then deep down, they have their mother's voice kind of, whatever. You would write the post, you would speak to, do you ever feel like you can never get it right? Bing, like that's something very relatable. And then someone's going to read deeper down. Yes, I feel that way. What do you have to say about that? Then you want to start to ask yourself, what are some of the symptoms that come up if someone can never feel like they can get it right and they have to do everything for the family and they don't feel supported by their own mother? And then we can go down, and once we get like the symptoms are sort of surface, then we can say, why is it hard, or why are you stuck, right? Then we want to let them know, well, the reason this is so hard to heal is because it has been generationally handed down. The wounds are very intimate. The family wounds are the hardest to heal. You could, let them know what you know about healing that and transforming that, because it's not a one-shot deal. It's not like a quick fix. It's a deeper process, right? So you're educating them on, hey, this is why it's hard, but there is a way. And then you can talk about one of the things that we need to create is a feeling of safety. That it's safe to be yourself. It's safe to express yourself. It's even safe to say to me, it's even safe to say, I don't feel like I can get anything right. Melinda, thank you so much for coming. So can you feel how it's very different than saying, I can help you heal narcissistic abusive relationship patterns. It's much more specific. And in that specificity, there's a compassion. There's like, I understand, I want this to work for you. Let me show you how. And that makes the call much more of a gift and offering. Like, I think, the criticism around is like, well, I just feel like I'm giving all this time away and all of that. And I understand that can be frustrating, but that's usually because the skills in the call need to be tightened. Because it is true that you will get people who just want the free time. And so part of it is like qualifying the client, and that's the boundary piece. Okay, is like, it's great. They're going to get a lot of value out of the conversation, but at some point you have to shape it in a way where it's actually constructive, so that the call leads them to seeing that the work you have to offer is actually something they really need. And that's a whole skill in and of itself that is not taught in healing school or, art school. It's not something that we know, actually. Like, I talked to a lot of people before I ever learned this skill, and they are worlds apart. Like, knowing how to walk someone through a process to get to a place where the client can understand and you can understand and there's clarity makes the relationship just different, versus someone going, hey, what do you charge? And you go, oh my God, like, we can't go anywhere with that question. And that's often what happens, and that's okay. But we don't often feel good in that position, right? People are like, I know you do healing. What do you charge? And it's like, well, wait a second. I don't even know what you need. So it's part of that starts in the marketing, right? Where it's like, do you feel like you can never get it right? Do you have a challenging relationship with your mother? Do you feel like you're always doing everything for everyone else and you've lost your sense of self? By the way, on whatever date, I'm teaching a class on healing the mother wound. This is why it's important to me. This is why I feel it's important to other women. I'd love for you to join me in this conversation. So it's a great opportunity to organize around something that's very specific and very powerful and valuable that they can already learn from you. And then they're like, oh, I think I need to talk to you deeper. I need to talk to you further about this. And then, then you have the call. So do you see how that, I'm trying to break it down step by step, but is that, does that help? Does that give you some shape?
Yes. Yeah, I was realizing a lot as you were talking, it just clicked. So that was nice.
Great. Yeah, I am happy to, talk with you further about it. If any of, and I realize it's 3:00. So I just want to honor time, but is there anything else that's lingering in your approach that you have a question about? Because I know you were saying at the beginning of the call, you're feeling frustrated. So the opting in, like, I think that's kind of what I was talking to, is like, that's where we go from just inspiring people to actually saying, here's how I can help. And I'm helping you with a very specific thing. Which changes.
I think I need to just personally like sit with it more, so that way I feel more comfortable in talking about it, because like how you were talking about, like, yeah, talking about pain points is something scary because it is triggering. And I do have a semi difficult relationship with my mother, and she sees my Instagram, so I'm just like, how do I even say this stuff?
So I love that you shared that. That would be something we would need to support, right? The place in you, it's like, we all have these little areas that it's like, until we start talking about it, we don't even realize they're operating. But it's so, thank you for opening that up and going, that's why I don't talk about it. It's like, and that's okay, but we have to be, and then where I go is like, okay, that's where I would, right? Go, so first we have to do the inner work. And we have to support Angelia in exploring how this is difficult, that her mother sees the content.
Yeah.
And when you're speaking from your heart, you really can't go wrong. And whatever other stuff arises, right? Love will always bring up everything its opposite. So whatever else arises is just more opportunity for integration and healing for everyone involved. And it doesn't necessarily mean that, oh my gosh, I have to go and fix it or make it right for anyone. No, it's going to bring up what it's going to bring up. And this is me coming into my own. And it might challenge people closest to me. And I can hear that or not. I can work with them through it or not. But that's a boundary too, right?
Yeah. And I realized also, like, while you were talking, like the word safety was just like a light bulb for me, because I realized, like, I've been sitting with it for a little while, like that little girl in me, I know she's been freaking angry, and I've been doing so much healing work, and I'm like, what now? But because I've been on this journey for a long time, and it's definitely evolved. Like I told you before on our one-on-one call before, like I had a coach and she was trying to veer me a certain way and it didn't feel genuine. And I feel like now I'm finding my voice and what I want to do, because I realize that is something, like, I don't want to appeal to the masses. I want to appeal to that one-on-one relationship with someone who understands and build that relationship. And like, talking about mother, I literally So I launched my little apothecary because I do that stuff anyways for like, it's part of my program, my one-on-one program. Like I make Florida water and whatever for my clients as part of the care package. So I was like, let me launch my apothecary separately so people who can't afford it can do that as well. And I've been making that for years, and I posted about it, and my mother was like, yeah, I'm waiting for mine. I'm like, here we go again. And I deleted her comment because I was just like, why do you do this? I'm trying to run a business.
Yeah, so it's so in, right, so that's the inner, right, like
Mhm.
something happened, right? So isn't it fascinating how just the littlest thing, it's not a little, but that's an opportunity to look a little deeper and go, yeah, there's whatever is needed here so that I can be in my own, stand in my own, be who I want to be. And also, right, it mirrors a little bit of what you said about your ideal. So we have the blueprint within us.
Mhm.
And once we get to know, like, oh, this is really what I'm about, and that strengthens, that embodiment of that strengthens what other people do and say, is it becomes less and less and less, even with family, and it is deeper healing work for sure. And I think that's also why I make the claim that we can't continue to build businesses that are run from the neck up only. We just
Mhm.
can't. I feel like building a business is a soul seeking journey of coming home to oneself, especially if we're talking about women who care deeply about the future direction of the planet and the human species and all of the living creatures. It's like we are invested in something bigger. And so we can't build a business that doesn't honor those values. And when things like that come up, it's part of the journey, it's part of the healing, it's part of the integration, it's part of returning home and becoming whole, right? So isn't it wonderful that we can see it all belongs? It's not separate. It's part of the process.
Yeah, I definitely see that. And I'm really grateful. Every time I come on to your calls, I'm like, ugh. It's good, but like bad because I'm like, okay, more work, but it's good because I get to the root cause of it deeper, which, is the point.
Great. Well, as you all know, we are in enrollment for our next group program. And this is exactly why I do this work, right? Is because of what comes up in these calls. It's, you can see like I feel so honored that everybody who usually comes to the calls is really invested actually already. Which is so awesome. Like if you listen to these conversations, it's so deep already, which is awesome, and it gives you a sense of the way that I work. It also gives you a sense of what the group dynamic might be. So it's part of a whole ecosystem, right? And there's absolutely like no pressure to sign up for a vision call with me. And all of you are invited to do so. Even if you've spoken to me before, it's still on the table, right? Because every year, once a year, I go into this process. And it's very structured and planned out. And after, 7 years of really it didn't happen like this, okay? But it's like we're in a rhythm. And there's going to be a free class on Wednesday. So the next step is how to work with no and hold genuine space for client concerns and transform objections into clarity on the enrollment call. It's a very important part of the process. And it's actually a preview into the work I do with my program participants. So it's an actual teaching and call and working session that we do every month. So all of you are invited to that. And I think what we'll do is we'll put a link into the email with this recording that you'll get. And I'll also be posting this recording up in the Mighty Networks community, which I think you're all a part of. So I have a free community and then I have the paid community, and they're kind of like sisters. And so I will do educational circles like this one. This is more like working it out and educating. But I'm also going to be doing like a goddess new moon. No, it's for the solstice, actually. That's the next one. So we get a little magic vibe, and then we get a little like do the work vibe, you know, because I do both. And that's how I like it. So it's structured. There's an intention, but it's also been so much fun. Like, wow, like all of you brought, you know, the beautiful pieces together. So that's another thing I think too, with practitioners like you, the work is alive. Some business coaches don't teach to that. They want to give you a system, or they want to do a blah, 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 or whatever. And I think the aliveness is what some coaching business strategy doesn't get. Or, you know, no fault of anyone. I'm just saying that there are certain approaches that I don't think work well for practitioners who are really in an alive process with their clients. You know, it's something, there's different approaches. So this approach is very alive. It's like, let's get the alive work, you know, in motion and really grow it. Does that make sense, or does that help? Just to speak back to your comment about the other business coaching experience. And, you know, there are people out there. Yes, it's a big investment. It's a big commitment. And when it doesn't fit, right, it can really, you know, be like, I've done that too, where it's like, okay, I think I need to do this. And then I do it and I go, I'm not their ideal client at all, you know? So I just did this 3-month thing and spent this money, and she didn't have a call with, she had like a 20-minute conversation with me. It was my decision to do it. You know, I was like, okay, I think I'm going to do this. But in the end, I was like, I wasn't her ideal at all, you know? And that's okay. It was great experience. So I was like, oh, now you know, I just, every time I learn more, like, why I do it the way I do it, because I feel like the clarity and the, you know, it's worth it to sit with a new person and say, I really want to understand you, and then I'm happy for you to understand me, and then let's see, you know, like that. So this has been so much fun. I really hope that you've had fun. And I'm just curious, is there one thing that really stood out to you today that you want to kind of name? I would love to hear, like, what stood out. Just unmute yourself and share, like, what was one thing that really stood out to you? You're welcome. Jenny.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, she's muted again. Oh, there you are.
Sorry. Well, I think what stood out to me is how valuable doing this in a group is. I'm still very, 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 very new to this entire process. I don't have a business per se. I'm still trying to figure out what my offering is. I've realized a lot of things, like just witnessing everybody else's process and everybody else's, you know, contributions. Like, that's really been so helpful. And I think so for me, that's the biggest takeaway of what I've learned about myself, and also just this all, you know, because I was also kind of like, do I belong here? You know, like, I don't know if I really do, because I'm not a like, I'm not a practicing healing professional. I'm not, you know, I don't have a business. Do I belong here? Is this right for me? And as a matter of fact, the direction that I thought I was going to go in, which is more of a hands-on teaching, like weaving and like really creating with your hands type of direction, I now feel like I have to integrate with more of a personal development angle, because that is a huge part of my journey and where I am. And I think the kind of sticking to the physical was me, or is me, playing small and being afraid to like dig deeper and give all that I have to give. So those were my takeaways. It's not really completely on topic, but it's, you know, it's the work, and it's thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I feel that from you, Jenny, a lot. Yeah, that it's like what you said about the developmental aspect of the work. And part of it, I will say, is that that's why we begin, or that's why I began with the embodiment work. So the 3 tiers are the embodiment piece, like who am I, right? So actually down here in the belly.
Yeah.
And then why, you know, what is it I want to create and why? And then the business structure actually is the 3rd phase. So the program moves in 3 phases, 3 main phases. So actually where I started was purpose-driven work. Like, it wasn't actually business. What the business people ask me this all the time, like, did you always do it? And I was like, no, I inserted the business strategy part of it because I recognized when women were telling me about purpose, they couldn't actually work on their purpose because they needed to make money. So it was actually out of necessity that I said, well, I can't responsibly move forward unless I am also able to coach them in a way where this becomes viable. We don't just want like a purpose in concept, like here, you know, because that's what they feel a lot of. We actually have to bring it into the real.
Right.
But in order to get there, to be able to do that, we need the embodiment piece. So, right, because purpose arises out of knowing who you are. So we begin there.
Yeah, and when you're saying we, you mean like for your group offering?
Yeah, just to answer, do you belong here? You know.
Right. Thank you. That's helpful.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. I'm glad you could make it today.
Yeah. Thanks. My son is being babysat by the TV, but that's okay.
Good.
Thank you.
I'll just share, Andrea, that what I appreciate is how much you both describe, and I've witnessed you have it be a process that's always changing, and how there isn't one right answer for every single person, maybe obviously, because I've also witnessed that in being part of your sessions over multiple years now, how it has shifted and how your message has shifted, and not necessarily your message, but that's actually the point, is like you haven't. It's the things that you're doing and how you've done it. But it's become more clear, or it's just wonderful. So my point is that that's very soothing to someone like me who thinks, wait, there's one answer out there. There's something that I'm missing that's like the thing that's gonna do it for me. And yes, there is perhaps something for me specifically that will be what I need to do, the next right thing and the next right thing, but there's no answer. Otherwise, everyone would be doing the same thing, right? I mean, there's just no thing that is correct. So that is, again, very soothing to be reminded of how everything is constantly changing, and that there's that freedom to stay open to that as well, even if I do make a choice. And I think people are very forgiving in that way as well. I mean, if you say, I no longer offer this, then theoretically they could find it elsewhere, or, you know, you just stay true to yourself. And you pointed that out as well, as like, people are going to be intrigued by you. People are going to, the more you stay with yourself, and speaking for myself, the more I stay with myself, the more I draw those who can handle it and not adapt to what I think others need or whatnot. However, I'm going to keep going back to this. However, there is that beautiful point that you're saying is, what do people need? That's a really wonderful thing to also reflect and not have it just be, I'm going to barrel through like a bull in a china shop and just think I can give everybody what I think they need. So it's a balance there maybe, but it's mostly that kernel of us embodied, just staying in this, like John O'Donoghue, who calls it your inner sanctuary. And I just always love that term, as there's something in there that's always us, that is untouchable by others. And it's just like, oh yeah.
Maybe that's what you're creating for people.
Sure. Yeah. But I think I don't know, I have more patience than I thought I would after this call, as in, it's not as though I'm like, okay, raring to go. I'm thinking, ooh, how can I, just like you were saying, Angelia, I'm going to sit with this. I'm going to really reflect by myself. And side note, Andrea, I was at your last new moon ceremony with the chanting. I've been chanting every day. And I just wanted to share that with you, is like that specific calling out is so powerful for me. And as you were pointing out, like, do it for 40 days, see what happens. So there's something that I'm like, okay, I got to sit with this and like nurture it, feed the fire, and then the unknown will come out.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that's a great mantra to work with in the unknown, because it really stokes the clarity of the heart, the fire in the heart, and the direction of the heart. So that's great. Yeah, good.
Yay.
What's the mantra? Just quick question.
Oh, it's actually, you can get it in the Mighty Networks. I would recommend like going to the class, because it probably, or just at least the meditation. So if you go in the Mighty Networks, there should be a recording of the class that we did, or the session, and then also the meditation on its own. And it'll give you a little bit of a backdrop. But it's and we worked with the goddess Lalita Tripura Sundari. So rather than just give you the seeds, I think the context will be helpful. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Just say one thing really quick to Angelia. I just wanted to let you know I'm Latina. I very much resonate with everything that you said about the mother wound, about ancestral healing, about all of that. So I just wanted to share that it resonates for sure. So you're on.
Thank you.
Got it.
I don't know if you guys noticed, I was like on the verge of tears. That's how angry I was.
I hear it.
I feel it in my bones. Like I feel it. I know there's something there, and it's just like frustrating, like that wall. But I feel like now I have a better understanding thanks to you, Andrea, and I'm excited to get into this. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I'm excited to get into it.
Great. Well, one of the ways that you can also like take this information, and then if you have questions, post in the Mighty Networks community, because we check if you have a question, I'll answer it there. So if you're doing this work and you want, and you hit a roadblock, like you can ask a question in the community. We've been trying to encourage more conversation in there. And then the other option is to sign up for a vision call, and we can go over the strategies in more depth. And obviously the vision call is also to see if the program would match where you are. And we start in February, so we have a little bit of time, but that's another way that you can get support. And even if you've had one with me already, it's really okay to sign up for another one, because maybe since the last time we spoke, things have changed, and to really show you like, this is what we'll need to do together. Because I think the hardest part mostly is like the carry through, the follow through, right? Because it takes repetition. And also I like what Jenny said too, is like doing this work in a group is very, very effective. So I'm really passionate about the group, because that's really where we get the reinforcement of the connections we're making because we're doing it together rather than doing it alone. Because a lot of times we'll get the thing and we'll be so fired up, and then we'll go out and we'll like lose our bearings. Like, what happened? You know, because the resistances, and especially in the beginning, are strong. You know, I mean, we are always hitting those places. So so that's also why I love these classes and offering these classes, and then also kind of to show like this is what it's like, you know, in the deeper dive. So I'm really glad that you all received so much and connected so well and so beautifully, and that's always great for me and so much fun. I really love it. Okay, so next step is we'll send out the email. You can RSVP for the free working session this Wednesday, which we're opening up to you guys in the Soul Dwelling Heart community to show you what we do and from Guidance Within. You can also sign up for a vision call with me one-on-one. That's the link in my bio in my Instagram. And then we're going to have a couple more events in December as well. So there's a bunch of touch points coming up. And if you have questions while you're working on your material, post the question in the Mighty Networks, and I'd be happy to answer it either in video or written format. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Have a great
I'll
day,
see everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.